Today we're going to show you that you don't need a lot of expensive photography gear to get started with long exposure photography. So stick around for some valuable tips that will help you get that silky moving water effect without breaking the bank.
Okay, so before making it complicated or expensive with lots of extra equipment references, it's worth mentioning that we can get started without breaking the bank here. I've come to this forest path to have a look for a spot along the creek where we can do a quick warm-up shot using little more than the camera and this beanbag. Under normal midday lighting conditions, we would struggle to do a long exposure shot without overexposing the photo. Yes, filters can be a great solution, but I've brought you here to illustrate a point. By working in a less bright environment, it's actually possible to open the shutter long enough to imply some movement in our scene without overexposing and without any additional gear. In fact, I'm not even going to use a tripod in this case, just a beanbag to help position my camera on a rock in the stream. If you don't have a beanbag, just improvise. A piece of clothing can be bunched up and used to support your camera. Just don't lose your beloved camera into the water. There's another interesting thing playing out here. The movement of this water is actually being emphasized by the fact that my lens is so close to it. Movement always appears to be faster the closer it is to your camera. This is the same effect as watching an airplane creep across the sky. It may be flying upwards of 500 kilometers an hour, but it looks like it's just barely creeping across the sky because you're viewing it from a great distance. So at the moment, this is working to my advantage because I'm only opening the camera for a quarter of a second, but that's long enough for this movement to travel across my picture area, making a dramatic impression as it blurs that movement. The settings here are quite simple, actually. I've closed down my aperture and I've lowered my ISO. And this did two things for me. That high F number has enhanced my depth of sharpness, and that low ISO has enabled me to shoot with a second. I simply focused on my nearest foreground element, which in this case was this blob of foam floating around in the water, and I triggered the camera with a 2-second self-timer to avoid shaking things during the exposure. Distance can't be underestimated when it comes to photographing a moving subject, and I'm sure this topic is going to come up for us again. I'm actually quite amazed how much you can do by leveraging these two simple things. Number one, working under dimmer lighting conditions, and number two, getting the camera in close. If you're doing your own experiment, I encourage you to work the scene. As long as the light doesn't change, these settings will continue to work, even if I adjust my composition. So see what you can accomplish by moving around, think about playing with balance in the frame, see what kinds of shapes you can find if you're working near a stream like this, and other elements may offer a way to lead the viewer into the frame. By the way, it's always a great idea to check your sharpness on the back of the camera before calling it a wrap. This is your last opportunity to notice any problems with sharpness and reshoot before it's too late. There's nothing worse than being surprised by accidents after you're importing your photos into the computer. So I'm zooming right into the spot that I focused on in my shot, and in this case, that's the blob of foam, but I'm looking carefully and I'm really trying to analyze if I got the sharpness that I need. This one looks pretty good, so I think we can move on.
Let me take the chance to quickly tell you about the fantastic courses that we run over at viewfindermastery.com. If you want to learn photography in a clear and structured way from professional photography educators, then come and check us out over at viewfindermastery.com. We've got courses in all kinds of photography topics, from portraiture and sports photography to landscape and Lightroom, you name it. Of course, you don't have to take my word for it. We've got great customer ratings, so just check out our Google and Facebook ratings to hear what others are saying first, and then I would love to see you join us over at viewfindermastery.com. I would love to hear from you down in the comments below. Please like and share this video with your photography friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.